Roscoe.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're on the record now on Fremont County case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Let me confirm with our tech people and clerks here, is the broadcast on?
Yes.
Thank you. The court will note that as we get started, there is a courtroom conduct order in effect that you've all been advised. Please pay attention to the terms of that order, including making sure you don't have any devices that would go off and interrupt proceedings. No recording within this courtroom or photography of any type. The court is providing public access through the open proceedings as well as the live stream that's being conducted. With the court's live stream, we have, I think, good technology in place to accomplish that. If something comes up that interrupts the live broadcast of this trial, and this will be throughout the trial, we'll give an opportunity to try to get that started again. However, if there's going to be any kind of significant delay in the live stream broadcast, the court will be continuing on with the proceedings. So there may be gaps in that, but I think our technology is in place that hopefully that won't occur. But just so those listening in understand, if it does come up, we likely will not pause the trial longer than necessary to make that accommodation. At this time, I'll note also for the benefit of counsel, we do have all 18 jurors. Our 12 jurors with 6 alternates have arrived this morning, and everyone has submitted their juror affirmation sheet regarding following the court's admonishment while they've been gone. No issues to bring up on the affirmations of the jurors. So with that in mind, then let me go to the state, noting the state is here present. Is the state ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
And is the defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, counsel. All right, before we bring the jurors in, which we'll do very shortly here, I also, as we are getting started and before the jurors are sworn and we take evidence, is there, I believe we've already had a motion to exclude witnesses. Let me just clarify on the record, is there going to be a motion to exclude witnesses through evidence portion of the trial made by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. So,
Very well. The court will reaffirm then there has been a motion to exclude witnesses. So as the state begins with its case in chief, keep that in mind that they are not permitted to observe the trial proceedings, including the live stream. The only exception would be for a witness. If they statutorily qualify as a victim, then they are permitted to observe the proceedings. So each witness is going to be questioned whether or not they've observed any trial proceedings, and I would instruct the state and then following the defense, if they have witnesses, to make sure that the exclusionary rule is followed. Does the state have any questions on that matter?
Your Honor, the state would just clarify and just make counsel and the court aware. It's the state's understanding that through the Constitution and statutorily, victims have a right to remain in the courtroom throughout the proceedings, regardless of whether or not they are victims. And we have discussed that with defense counsel and made the court aware of who we think there may be a crossover with, meaning individuals that may be present and also witnesses. But statutorily, they would have the right to be here. So including any of the defendant's children, as well as, since they were Tammy's children, as well as siblings, sometimes grandparents. The court made a ruling last year in the Lori Vallow case. I think if we're following a similar guideline, those are the individuals that we would just note for the record may be present at times, but should have the right to be present throughout the proceedings. In addition, I would just note for the record that we do have our case agent who will be present for the duration of the proceedings, and that's Chief Deputy Vince Kaikamani.
Okay, and the state's permitted their case agent as it relates to victims. The court agrees they are permitted to see the proceedings, including if they are a witness. We would take up on a witness by witness basis whether or not they fall within the statutory qualifications. permitting that, and I know the state's aware of the issue. We'll make rulings tested as to whether or not they would qualify and later called to testify. Mr. Pryor from the defense, any further comment or questions on the exclusionary ruling?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, this time then we will have the jurors brought in.
Yes, sir. All rise.
All the jury is present and accounted for.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bale. Please be seated. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We're on the record on Fremont County case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. We're ready to proceed with opening arguments and initial instructions this morning to you as jurors. The court notes that the prosecution is present as well as the defendant and the defense attorney representing him as well. We have qualified this panel of 18 jurors consisting of 12 jurors with 6 alternates, and they are now seated for trial. Let me start with the state and ask, will the state agree that the jury has now been properly seated and ready to be sworn?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Will the defense agree as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for returning this morning. You're now seated as jurors in the case before us. As previously been told, I'm Stephen W. Boyce, the District Judge of Fremont County in charge of this courtroom trial. I'll briefly reintroduce you to some of our court personnel assisting here today. Shannon Holstein, seated to my right, is the clerk who is keeping minutes of the trial proceedings, will be marking trial exhibits and administering oaths to you as jurors and to the witnesses. We do have our courtroom bailiffs as well who assist with keeping order in the courtroom and helping the jury move about where they're supposed to throughout the day, and in enforcing any conduct orders we have in effect here for the trial. Our court reporter today, Amy Bland, is taking a stenographic record of everything said during the trial proceedings, and my staff attorney, Courtney Stallings, is seated to the far right, who assists me with legal research and administrative matters that come up throughout each day of trial. Each one of you has been qualified, examined, and selected to serve as a juror of this court. The clerk will now have a roll call of our seated jurors. Please, Madam Clerk, if you would conduct the roll call. As to each juror, once your juror number is announced, please just indicate present or here verbally so we acknowledge that on the record. Madam Clerk.
Juror 27, present. Juror 219,
Here.
juror 505,
Here.
juror 631.
Here.
Juror 653.
Here.
Juror 686,
Present.
juror 752,
Present.
juror 1680, present. Juror 823,
Here.
juror 1358,
Here.
juror 1365, yeah. Juror 716, yeah. Juror 751,
Here. Here.
juror 997,
Here.
juror 1078, juror 1577, yeah. Juror 1271, juror 1382.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This case has been brought by the state of Idaho. I'll sometimes refer to the state as the prosecution. State is here represented in this trial by Lindsay Blake, the Fremont County prosecutor. Ms. Blake, could you please stand briefly? Also, Rob Wood is the Madison County prosecutor. Ingrid Beatty is a special assistant prosecutor. And Rocky Wixom is a Fremont County deputy prosecutor. The defendant in this case, Mr. Daybell, is represented by his attorney, John Pryor. Thank you, counsel. In a few moments, the clerk will read you a redacted version of the amended indictment in this case. That document is not to be considered as evidence. It sets forth the charges against the defendant. You must not consider it as evidence of guilt and not be influenced by the fact that charges have been filed. Mr. Daybell has pled not guilty to the charges contained in the amended indictment. And please remember, again, it's a description of charges. It is not evidence. Under our law and system of justice, every defendant is presumed to be innocent. This means two things. First, the state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty. The state has that burden throughout the trial. The defendant is never required to prove his innocence, nor does the defendant ever have to produce any evidence at all. Second, the state must prove the alleged crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence or from a lack of evidence. If after considering all the evidence you have a reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt, you must find the defendant not guilty. The duty of the jury is to determine the facts and then apply the law set forth in the instructions I will later give you to those facts. In this way, you will decide the case. In applying the court's instructions as to the controlling law, you must follow those instructions regardless of your opinion of what the law is or what the law should be or what any lawyer may state the law to be. During this course of the trial, including opening statements, you're instructed that you are not to discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else, including using the internet or social media or any other form of communication, electronic or otherwise. Do not conduct any personal investigation or look up any information from any source, including the internet. And do not form an opinion as to the merits of the case until after the case has been submitted to you for your determination. The court's given you that instruction now multiple times, and I will continue to give you that instruction. And again, that's not because I don't think you're not paying attention. It's just important enough. We'll keep reiterating that. And I will note we received the juror affirmations today from each of the jurors indicating they have followed that instruction. So thank you for that. At this time then, the next matter we'll take up is to have this jury placed under oath for trial. At this time then, Madam Clerk, if you're ready to administer the oath, I'll have the jurors stand and be placed under oath. When you stand, then please raise your right hands.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will try the cause now on trial and a true verdict rendered here in accordance with the law and the evidence, so help you God.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. All right, the jurors have already been advised of some of our trial procedures in this case, and I'll just give you some additional general information here. Our normal schedule is to run trial from 8:30 each day until 3:30. At times that will need to be modified for certain reasons. Sometimes we have matters to be argued outside of your presence. Sometimes during the recesses, they may seem to go long because we're conducting other court business outside of your presence. But we will take recesses through the morning and also in the afternoon. If anyone is uncomfortable, needs a break or recess for some specific reason, please notify the bailiff and we'll do our best to accommodate each of you and keep you comfortable while you're here. In addition, if anyone has any kind of accommodations they need, for example, assistance with a hearing device, other matters, please notify the bailiff again, and we want to make sure you are as comfortable as you can be and able to be alert and attentive throughout presentation of evidence in the case. These seats that you have been assigned to at this time will be your specific seat throughout the trial. Please return to that same assigned seat each day or after each break so that we are able to determine who's here and if someone's not for some reason who's not here. If there are interruptions at times during the trial, I know that can be frustrating, but we'll work our best to keep those to a minimum, move the trial as long as efficiently as possible, but at times it just takes time to hear motions that are necessary outside of your presence. And then the courtroom and your location for deliberations, as well as during the trial where you'll be held. We've provided, of course, access to restrooms and other needs you may have. I'll address your compensation here. State law allows you for $10 a day for your jury service. However, after 5 days, that bumps up to $40 a day. So this trial is expected to go some time. You'll likely get into that increased range of compensation, and that's pursuant to Idaho Code 2215. You're also entitled, I believe, to a mileage reimbursement for travel each day, and that can further be explained to you if you have any questions. Also, you may notice from time to time, or a lot of the time, I'm looking at monitors here during the trial. I do have case information here and availability to access and research things from the bench. And so if you notice me looking at those monitors, it's generally to assist me in trial issues that come up. At this time, then the court will provide the jury with some additional jury instructions. As I read through these, it's somewhat lengthy, and I will notify you that you don't have to necessarily memorize everything I'm saying. When the trial is concluded and you deliberate, you will have printed copies of these instructions to return to for reference. And if you'll give me just a moment here, I have a brief inquiry to make with my staff attorney. All right, thank you. Now that you've been sworn as jurors to try this case, I'll go over with you what will be happening. I will describe how the trial will be conducted and what we will be doing. At the end of the trial, I'll give you more detailed guidance on how you are to reach your decision. Because the state has the burden of proof, it goes first. After the state's opening statement, the defense may make an opening statement or may wait until the state has presented its case. The state will offer evidence that it says will support the charges against the defendant. The defense may then present evidence that is not required to do so. If the defense does present evidence, the state may then present rebuttal evidence. This is evidence offered to answer the defense's evidence. After you have heard all of the evidence, I'll give you additional instructions on the law. After you have heard the instructions, the state and the defense will each be given time for closing arguments. In their closing arguments, they will summarize the evidence to help you understand how it relates to the law. Just as the opening statements are not evidence, neither are the closing arguments. After the closing arguments, you will leave the courtroom together to make your decision. During your deliberations, you will have with you my instructions, the exhibits admitted into evidence, and any notes taken by you in court. The defendant is charged by the state of Idaho with a violation of law. The charges against the defendant are contained in the amended indictment. The amended indictment is simply a description of the charges. It is not evidence. Jury instruction number 3. The defendant, Chad Daybell, has been charged in the amended indictment with certain counts of entering into a conspiracy with Lori Daybell and or Alex Cox and or other co-conspirators. The crime of conspiracy involves an agreement by two or more persons to commit a crime. You must only consider the evidence against the defendant, Chad Daybell, in this case, and should not speculate as to any other case or legal proceedings involving any alleged co-conspirators. You must remember that the defendant, Chad Daybell, has the presumption of innocence, and you must consider his guilt or innocence based solely on the evidence provided in this case. Instruction number 4. It is alleged that the crimes charged were committed on or about or on or between a certain date. If you find a crime was committed, the proof need not show that it was committed on that precise date. Instruction number 5. Under our law and system of justice, the defendant is presumed to be innocent. Presumption of innocence means two things. First, the state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty. The state has that burden throughout the trial. The defendant is never required to prove his innocence, nor does the defendant ever have to produce any evidence at all. Second, the state must prove the alleged crime beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence or from lack of evidence. If after considering all the evidence you have a reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt, you must find the defendant not guilty. Jury instruction number 6. A defendant in a criminal trial has a constitutional right not to be compelled to testify. The decision whether to testify is left to the defendant, acting with the advice and assistance of the defendant's lawyer. You must not draw any inference of guilt from the fact that the defendant may not testify, nor should this fact be discussed by you or enter into your deliberations in any way. Jury instruction number 7. If during the trial I may say or do anything which suggests to you that I am inclined to favor the claims or positions of any party, you will not permit yourself to be influenced by any such suggestion. I will not express nor intend to express, nor will I intend to intimate any opinion as to which witnesses are or are not worthy of belief, what facts are or are not established, or what inferences should be drawn from the evidence. If any expression of mine seems to indicate an opinion relating to any of these matters, I will instruct you to disregard it. Jury instruction number 8. Your duties are to determine the facts, to apply the law set forth in my instructions to those facts, and in this way to decide the case. In doing so, you must follow my instructions regardless of your own opinion of what the law is or should be, or what either side may state the law to be. You must consider them as a whole, not picking out one and disregarding others. The order in which the instructions are given has no significance as to their relative importance. The law requires that your decision be made solely upon the evidence before you. Neither sympathy nor prejudice should influence you in your deliberations. Faithful performance by you of these duties is vital to the administration of justice. In determining the facts, you may consider only the evidence admitted in this trial. This evidence consists of the testimony of the witnesses, the exhibits offered and received, and any stipulated or admitted facts. The production of evidence in court is governed by rules of law. At times during the trial, an objection may be made to a question asked a witness, or to a witness's answer, or to an exhibit. This simply means I'm being asked to decide a particular rule of law. Arguments on the admissibility of evidence are designed to aid the court and are not to be considered by you nor affect your deliberations. If I sustain an objection to a question or to an exhibit, the witness may not answer the question, or the exhibit may not be considered. Do not attempt to guess what the answer might have been or what the exhibit might have shown. Similarly, if I tell you not to consider a particular statement or exhibit, you should put it out of your mind and not refer to it or rely on it in your later deliberations. During the trial, I may have to talk with the parties about the rules of law which should apply to this case. Sometimes that will occur over on the corner there, and we do have a device here that whites out the noise, so you can't hear us speaking there. At other times, I'll excuse you from the courtroom so that you can be comfortable while we work out any problems with evidence. You are not to speculate about any such discussions. They are necessary from time to time to help the trial run more smoothly. Some of you have probably heard the terms circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, and hearsay evidence. Do not be concerned with these terms. You are to consider all the evidence admitted in this trial. However, the law does not require you to believe all of the evidence. As the sole judges of the facts, you must determine what evidence you believe and what weight you attach to it. There is no magical formula by which one may evaluate testimony. You bring with you to this courtroom all the experience and background of your lives. In your everyday affairs, you determine for yourselves whom you believe, what you believe, and how much weight you attach to what you are told. The same considerations that you use in your everyday dealings in making these decisions are the considerations which you must apply in your deliberations. In deciding what you believe, do not make your decisions simply because more witnesses may have testified one way than the other. Your role is to think about the testimony of each witness you heard and decide how much you believe of what the witness had to say. A witness who has special knowledge in a particular matter may give an opinion on that matter. In determining the weight to be given such an opinion, you should consider the qualifications and credibility of the witness and the reasons given for the opinion. You are not bound by such opinion. Give it the weight, if any, to which you deem it entitled. Jury instruction number 9, at the conclusion of the trial, you will decide as to each charge whether the state has proved the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The subject of penalty or punishment is not to be discussed or considered by you in making these decisions. That is a matter which must not in any way affect your verdict. Jury instruction number 10. The state is seeking the death penalty in this case. If the defendant is convicted of murder in the first degree, there will then be a separate sentencing phase of the trial. At that sentencing phase, additional evidence may be presented and the jury will be given additional instructions. At the conclusion of that hearing, the jury will then decide if the defendant will be sentenced to death. If the jury decides that the defendant will not be sentenced to death, either the defendant will be sentenced to a term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, or the judge will sentence the defendant to a term of life imprisonment during which the defendant could not be paroled for at least 10 years and possibly for life. Jury instruction number 11. If you wish, you may take notes to help you remember what witnesses said. If you do take notes, please keep them to yourself until after you and your fellow jurors go to the jury room to decide the case. You should not let note-taking distract you so that you do not hear other answers by witnesses. When you leave at night, you'll leave your notes here with the bailiffs. If you do not take notes, you should rely on your own memory of what was said and not be overly influenced by the notes of other jurors. In addition, you cannot assign one person the duty of taking notes for all of you. Jury instruction number 12. It is important that as jurors and officers of this court, you obey the following instructions at any time you leave the jury box, whether it be for recesses of the court during the day or when you leave the courtroom to go home at night. First, do not talk about the case among yourselves or with anyone else during the course of the trial. You should keep an open mind throughout the trial and not form or express an opinion about the case. You should only reach your decision after you have heard all the evidence, after you've heard my final instructions, and after the final arguments. You may discuss this case with the other members of the jury only after it is submitted to you for your decision. All such discussions should take place in the jury room. Second, do not let any person talk about the case in your presence. If anyone does talk about it to you, tell them you're a juror of the case. If they won't stop talking, then report that to the bailiff or courtroom staff here as soon as you're able to do that. You should not tell your fellow jurors about what has happened. Third, during this trial, do not talk with any of the parties, their lawyers, or any witnesses. By this, I mean not only do not talk about the case, but do not talk at all, even to pass the time of day. In no other way can all parties be assured of the fairness they are entitled to expect from these jurors. Fourth, during this trial, do not make any investigation of this case or inquiry outside of the courtroom on your own. Do not go to any place mentioned in the testimony without an order of the court to do so. You must not consult any books, records, internet, or any other source of information unless I specifically authorize you to do so. Fifth, do not read about the case in the newspapers. Do not listen to radio or television broadcasts about the trial. You must base your verdict solely on what is presented in court and not upon any newspaper, radio, television, or other media account of what may have happened. Each day, you will be required, as I mentioned, to sign an affirmation that you will follow this admonition of the court. That concludes the court's first instructions then, and as I mentioned, you will be providing copies of those when you deliberate for further reference. Next, at this time, then, I am going to have the clerk read the amended and redacted indictment to you. Madam Clerk, if you're ready to read the amended indictment, please do that at this time.
In the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho and in for the County of Fremont. State of Idaho plaintiff versus Chad Daybell defendant, case number CR 22211623, amended indictment. Chad Daybell is accused by the grand jury of Fremont County of this indictment as follows. Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. The defendants, Chad Daybell and or Lori Vallow and or Alex Cox, deceased, and or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Fremont County, Idaho, and as part of a continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan in Madison and Fremont Counties, Idaho, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Tylee Ryan and to commit grand theft by deception. Count 2, first degree murder. The defendant, Chad Daybell, on or between the 8th and 9th day of September 2019 in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and as part of a common scheme or plan for continuing criminal transactions in Madison and Fremont counties in Idaho, were concerned in the commission of a first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being, to wit, either kill Tylee Ryan and or assist in the killing of Tylee Ryan, and or did encourage the killing of Tylee Ryan, and or did command another to kill Tylee Ryan in violation of Idaho. Count 3, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. The defendants, Chad Daybell and or Lori Vallow and or Alex Cox, deceased, and or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, excuse me, in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Fremont County, Idaho, and as part of a continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan in Madison and Fremont counties, Idaho, that willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Joshua Jackson Vallow, hereinafter J.J. Vallow, and to commit grand theft by deception. Count 4, first degree murder. The defendant, Chad Daybell, on or between the 8th and 9th day of September 2019 in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and as part of a common scheme or plan for continuing criminal transactions between Madison and Fremont counties in Idaho, were concerned in the commission of a first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, were not being present, advised, and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being. To it, did either kill J.J. Vallow and or assist in the killing of J.J. Vallow, and or did encourage the killing of J.J. Vallow, and or did command another to kill J.J. Vallow in violation of Idaho Code. Count 5, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendants, Chad Guy Daybell and or Lori Noreen Vallow and or Alex Cox, deceased, and or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Madison County, Idaho, and as part of continuing criminal transaction in common scheme or plan in Fremont and Madison counties, Idaho, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Tammy Daybell, and did combine or conspire to commit murder, and one or more of such persons did enact to effect the object, combination, or conspiracy. Count 6, first-degree murder. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on October 18 to 19, 2019, in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, was concerned in the commission of first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being. To wit, did either kill Tammy Daybell and or assist in the killing of Tammy Daybell, and or did encourage the killing of Tammy Daybell, and or did command another to kill Tammy Daybell in violation of Idaho Code. Count 7, insurance fraud. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or about October 19, 2019 through October 30, 2019, in the county of Madison, state of Idaho, did with the intent to defraud or deceive an insurer for the purpose of obtaining any money or benefit, insurer or other person, a statement as part of or in support of a claim for payment or benefit, knowing that such statement contained false, incomplete, or misleading information concerning any fact or thing material to such claim, to wit, did present and or cause to be presented an insurance beneficiary form to Life Map Assurance Company in violation of Idaho Code. Count 9, insurance fraud. That the defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or about October 19, 2019 through October 31, 2019, in the county of Madison, state of Idaho, did with the intent to defraud or deceive an insurer for the purpose of obtaining any money or benefit, insurer or other person, a statement as part of or in support of a claim for payment or benefit, knowing that such statement contained false, incomplete, or misleading information concerning any fact or material thing to such claim, to wit, did present and or cause to be presented an insurance beneficiary form to Primerica Life Insurance Company in violation of Idaho Code. Signed as a true bill on the 24th day of May, 2021, and signed by the deputy presiding grand juror, acting as presiding grand juror in Fremont County, state of Idaho. And to these charges, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for reading the redacted amended indictment. In this case, again, I will advise the jurors, remember the indictment is a description of charges. It is not evidence. That concludes the court's opening instructions and the reading of the indictment. The jury's been sworn as well. The next matter we would take up then are opening statements. We inquire of the state, is the state ready to proceed with openings?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who will be giving the opening statement?
I will remember.
Very well. Mr. Wood, you may present your opening.
Your Honor, may I inquire, is there a hand mic so that I may address the jury?
I think we do have one. Might take us a moment to get it over to you.
And then I do have a PowerPoint attached.
All right.
May I proceed your phone? Yes, it's from the HDMI. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you.
Two dead children buried in the defendant Chad Daybell's backyard in September of 2019. The next month, his wife is found dead in their marital bed. 17 days after the death of his wife, Tammy Daybell, this defendant is photographed laughing and dancing on a beach in Hawaii at his wedding. It's Lori Vallow, a woman who was his mistress and the mother of the children buried in the graves on his property. 3 dead bodies. This defendant believed he had a right beyond the ordinary. When he had a chance at what he considered his rightful destiny, he made sure that no person or no law would stand in his way. His desire for sex, money, and power led him to pursue those ambitions. And this pursuit led to the deaths of his wife and Lori's 2 innocent children. Chad Daybell is an author who wrote books about the apocalypse. During this trial, you will hear a story more troubling. And the story is real. Chapter 1. The defendant was a seemingly ordinary man. You'll see that he craved significance. He worked in journalism and he worked as a sexton in a graveyard. He married his wife Tammy in 1990 after meeting at Brigham Young University, and they settled in Utah. As a full-time homemaker and mother, Tammy's love for her family was boundless. Together, Tammy and the defendant started a small publishing company, which Tammy supported in many ways. They had 5 children together. They moved to Idaho, where Tammy became a beloved school librarian. She was devoted to service, her community, and her faith. But for this defendant, that ordinary existence was not enough. Chapter 2. Lori Vallow was a homemaker from Arizona. Your Honor, this mic just.
Sorry, Mr. Wood. Let's see if we get a replacement mic.
I think I got it working now.
Okay.
I noticed that the PowerPoint is not up.
Yeah, look, I think your mic's off. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't turn it off this time, so
you might have a bad battery. Do you want to confirm the screen as well?
Your Honor, it's up on the screen and I can plug in the HDMI. I'm not sure why it's not. Transfer. I don't know if there's any one person out there with that.
Let's see if we can get some help to maybe see if we can get the signal to work on that.
Sorry. Can I proceed?
Yeah, but I'm still not sure on the mic. Is that not working?
Check.
Okay, thanks.
Apologies for the interruption, writing down. Chapter 2. Lori Vallow was a homemaker from Arizona. She was married to her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and she was the mother to Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Tylee was a normal, vibrant teenage girl. She loved her friends. You'll hear that she loved her Jeep. She loved Chipotle. She loved her little brother, JJ. JJ was a 7-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. He required extensive special care and need. He loved his sister. You'll hear about a pivotal date that set in motion the deaths of Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. October 26, 2018. That was the day when Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow met at a religious conference in St. George, Utah, where they were introduced by a mutual acquaintance. At this time, both still married to other spouses. That introduction set in motion the reality you're going to hear about. We know what happened next in the defendant's own words. You'll hear. Though both married, Chad and Lori began to have an affair. You will hear excerpts from the defendant's extended text messages to Lori that reveal his mindset and his motivations. In his thirst for sex, power, and money, Chad created an alternate reality where they called themselves James and Elena, names that Chad claimed were from past lives they had put together. The defendant's text messages reveal their story of lust and their plan for a future together. Chad Daybell wrote that upon meeting Lori Vallow, he experienced a happiness unmatched by anything else in his 50 years. He was captivated by her appearance, so much so he said she was out of his league. You will hear evidence in his own words, how he was taken by her beauty and spoke about their sexual encounters on many occasions. More than anything else, Chad's obsession with Lori was rooted in her adoration for him. She was the mirror reflecting the grandeur he saw in himself. He called her an exalted goddess. He told her in writing that she had returned to earth to perform a special mission. And part of that mission included being with him. They soon came together and turned their dreams into a plan for the future. One free from what they called obstacles. And those obstacles were Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. Chapter 3. You'll hear that in the world that Chad and Lori planned for themselves, they identified those who stood in the way of their dream as dark. Their spouses, Lori's own children, and any who oppose them were labeled sometimes as dark spirits or even zombies. This was more than an alleged belief of right-wing labor. The evidence will show that it was a convenient narrative that dehumanized people who stood in their way and who were labeled as obstacles. This narrative gave them the pretext to remove people from this world for their own good. Chad and Lori preached that only through spiritual intervention, what they sometimes called casting, sometimes through burning, or even through death, could these dark spirits be cleansed. Enter Alex Cox, Lori's devoted brother. Chad and Lori manipulated Alex with promises of spiritual rewards. They wielded their influence over Alex, drawing him into their plotting and planning of their own future. After the deaths of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Chad Daybell gave Alex a blessing. This blessing was reported by Lori, who was present. And in that blessing, he said to Alex, "You have earned the privilege to be a member of their exclusive religious group." And he also said to him, "You have already assisted us in ways that can never be repaid." But you will also see other text messages. Chad and Lori discussed more earthly concerns, that Alex could be the one to implicate them. Alex knew this as well. Shortly before he died, On December 12th, 2019, he told his wife, Zulema Pastenis, who you will hear from, he was afraid he was going to be Chad and Lori's fall guy. Chapter 4. Once their calculated plan was devised, it only took months to execute and remove perceived obstacles in Chad Daybell's path to a new life. Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, who was labeled as dark by the defendant, was shot and killed by Alex Cox in Arizona. Lori stood to gain $1 million, money that could fund Chad and Lori's future. Yet following Charles's death, Lori Vallow awaited a $1 million life insurance payout that never came, only to learn that the beneficiary was no longer her. Upon learning she would not receive that insurance money, Lori would text Chad, "I'll still get the $4,000 a month from SS, meaning Social Security." Chad replied to her in a text that read, "It will be interesting to see if it got changed after he had 2 bullets in his chest." Tylee Ryan, also branded dark and a zombie, was last seen on September 8th, 2019. Subsequent investigations revealed the horrifying truth. Her remains, charred and dismembered, were found in a grave on Chad Daybell's property. Without Charles's $1 million in insurance money to support them, Lori Vallow continued to illegally receive Tylee's Social Security benefits, provided after the death of Tylee's biological father, who had been Lori's 3rd husband. According to this defendant, J.J. Vallow, Lori's son, was also possessed. After he was labeled as a dark entity, his fate was no less tragic than his sister's. His young life was also claimed. Later, his bound body was discovered buried in Chad's backyard, his death by suffocation. Yet while JJ was missing, Lori continued to illegally receive JJ's Social Security benefit, money provided by Charles Vallow's dad. Tammy Daybell, a vivacious, healthy mother, was another individual labeled as a dark spirit to be removed. On October 9th of 2019, she reported being shot at night near her home by a man covered in black. She thought it was a paintball gun. On October 19th, 10 days later, she died in her own home with her husband present. This was soon after an increase in the value of her life insurance to more than $400,000. This defendant rapidly cashed in that life insurance and began looking for condos in Hawaii with Lori. You'll see the rental application he submitted for a couple with no kids. Medical examiners would later determine that the only reasonable explanation for Tammy's death was not of natural causes, but rather a homicide. In fact, you will hear from multiple witnesses that Chad predicted multiple times that Tammy would die in early death. Chapter 5. 17 days after his wife's death, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow got married and celebrated on a beach in Kauai, Hawaii, symbolizing what he called their eternal union. Chad and Lori were preparing their wedding well before Tammy's death. Lori was shopping for wedding rings while Tammy was still alive. Now, without the earthly obstacles of spouses and young children, and with Tammy's insurance policy and the children's Social Security funds, they could live the life that Chad and Lori wanted. Nothing was going to stand in their way. Chapter 6. Unfortunately for this defendant, reality soon shattered their bliss. 2 things led law enforcement to his and Lori's door. On October 2nd, 2019, Lori Vallow's nephew-in-law, a man named Brandon Boudreaux, was shot at in Arizona by someone from what he believed was Tylee's Jeep. Law enforcement in Arizona investigating Brandon's shooting contacted law enforcement in Fremont County, Idaho, to look for Alex Cox and for Tyler's Jeep. And you'll hear that that Jeep was later found in Rexford, Idaho, in Madison County. Meanwhile, J.J. Bell's grandmother, concerned that she hadn't seen or heard from him in months, asked police for help. The police followed up and located Lori in Rexford, Idaho, where the police did a welfare check at Lori's apartment. Law enforcement arrived at Lori's door on November 26, 2019. When asked about Lori, Chad first told law enforcement he didn't know her very well, despite the fact that they were married and had been in a relationship for over a year. Lies by Lori to police about JJ and Tylee's whereabouts, and then a move to Hawaii, and Lori's unwillingness to present her children to law enforcement to prove their well-being led to her arrest and extradition. As Lori refused to produce her children, law enforcement continued their search for Tylee and JJ. During that search, they located a unique text message that this defendant, Chad Daybell, had sent to his wife Tammy on September 9, 2019, which was the day after Tylee Bryant's last known appearance. You'll hear from the FBI agent who found that message, but this message seemed longer than his usual text to Tammy, and it had a more conversational tone. In that text, Chad claimed he'd had an interesting morning, that he'd shot a raccoon, that he'd buried it in what they called the pet cemetery, and that he'd had a fire on the property where he burned some wood debris. When law enforcement finally went to the defendant's property the following June, they didn't find a raccoon. They found Tylee's burnt remains that were buried in the pet cemetery. And they found JJ nearby, buried under a tree near a pond. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been told this would be a lengthy trial. You will hear from many witnesses. You will hear a lot of evidence. You're going to hear a lot of dates. The following is just a timeline of major events to help understand when these things took place. October 26, 2018, Chad and Lori meet in St. George, Utah. July 11, 2019, Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, shot and killed by Alex Cox. Between August 31st and September 1st, Lori, Alex Cox, and Tylee and JJ moved to Rexford, Idaho, just a few miles south of the defendant's home. Tylee's last known sighting was September 8, 2019. The text I just spoke of about the raccoon was sent by the defendant to his wife September 9, 2019. JJ's last known sighting you'll hear about September 22nd. The attempted homicide of Brandon Boudreaux in Arizona was October 2nd. The shooting I mentioned of Tammy, the shooting at her, the unsuccessful shooting, October 9th, 2019. Tammy's death, October 19th, 2019. 17 days later, Chad and Lori marry in Hawaii. Law enforcement did a welfare check looking for JJ November 26, 2019 in Rexford, Idaho. November 26th to the 27th, Chad and Lori leave town. June 9th, 2020, Tylee and JJ's remains are found on Chad's property. As I said, you're going to hear a lot of evidence from a lot of witnesses. And there's going to be kind of different groups of evidence you're going to hear from. You'll hear from law enforcement, some of whom will give you a broad overview of the investigation and what they did, how the search for Tylee and JJ drew to a case of murder. You'll hear how it began by people who knew Lori and Chad, the James and Elena. You'll hear about the James and Elena story and about their relationship with each other. and how they pursued their dream, their plan for a life together. You'll hear in the defendant's own words, people referred to as obstacles, how they need to be gotten rid of. You're going to hear financial evidence. You'll hear from an FBI forensic accountant and a detective, a Social Security administrative investigator who will talk about the finances involved in this case. You'll hear more from law enforcement, from multiple law enforcement agencies, the Rexford Police, Fremont County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, Social Security Administration, about the investigation into these crimes. You will see forensic evidence. You'll see DNA testing to identify the body of Tylee. You'll see DNA testing that showed that DNA from Tylee was found on at least 2 tools in the defendant's shed. You'll hear digital evidence dealing with geolocation data tied to certain phones that were used in this case. You'll hear from Hawaii law enforcement about searches they performed in Hawaii on the defendant and his wife. And finally, you will hear many of this defendant's own words. You will hear voice recordings of this defendant. You'll hear, recorded phone calls between him and his wife, Daybell. You'll read multiple texts that he and Lori sent back. Another text he sent. Chapter 9, what's unwritten. The defendant stands before you today, charged with multiple crimes. First-degree murder for the death of Tammy Daybell. First-degree murder for the death of Tylee Ryan. First-degree murder for the death of J.J. Vallow. Conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell. Conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft by deception, the death of Tylee Ryan. Conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft by deception for the death of J.J. Vallow, and insurance fraud. Two dead children buried in this defendant's backyard. The next month, his wife dead in their bed. 17 days later, this defendant marries Lori Vallow. Members of the jury, days or probably weeks from now, when the evidence in this trial is fully unfolded, we will have the opportunity to speak with you again. And at that time, we will ask you to end this horrible narrative. Your verdict will be the link that writes the final chapter of this tragic saga. A chapter that delivers justice for Tammy, justice for JJ, and justice for Tyler. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. That will conclude the opening statement of the state. Mr. Pryor, a couple of questions. First, is the defense going to give an opening statement now or defer until later? And second, if you are going to give an opening statement, would you prefer we take a mid-morning recess or go forward?
Judge, could we take a short recess? And I have a
Okay, I think this is a good time then for our mid-morning break. We'll go ahead and take that now. And then once that's concluded, Mr. Pryor can give us a statement for the defense.
All rise.
Can y'all hear me talking now? Let me know if you can. Drop a 1 if you can hear me. Now, it's going to scare me to death when they come back on. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I can't believe they took a recess. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next thing, I am dying to hear what John Pryor has to say. How do you explain away the bodies in the backyard? How do you explain that away? Oh, excuse me. So that's gonna be so the thing that hold on, can y'all hear me? Maybe it's 2. Let me turn it up a little bit. The thing with the we just heard Rob Wood. I mean, again, we've heard, for those of us who've been watching it, following all that type of stuff. We've heard this, right? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I did like how he did it in the book account or whatever it was, or the please, please, please. The way he did the chapters and stuff like that, I really like that part. But again, if you've been following this, we've kind of heard all that before. Not that I'm saying he shouldn't have done it. I like the way he presented it. I'm very curious to see what they have to say. Thank you, Broken Scout. I appreciate it. What the defense has to say. And, John Pryor, I don't know if you heard it, but Pryor's one that was like, hey, can we take a little break? You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to have to see what he says. I can't believe I'm dying over here. Now, I already told y'all, between 1 and 4, the AC man is coming. You already know. I'm like, they better get those things going before the AC man shows up, y'all. Yeah, since it says that, I wonder if they're using the time to lessen the blow. I wonder too. Thank you, Melody. Melody gifted some memberships. Woohoo! Enjoy them. Woohoo! So we're just gonna see, but yeah, hey Veronica, what's up? Yeah, so far we've come up with some really good names. We have Chud, Toad. What was the other one that Rain came up with? Rain, I forget if you're still here. I forget. It's way back there, but we've come up with some good ones for him. Y'all, they're gonna read Loin Fire. So they're gonna read all the stuff, right? They're gonna read all the stuff. Hey, because my PayPal, and I do appreciate you offering. It's not a requirement. My PayPal is my email address, reportinglive@mysofa@gmail.com. I quit using the coffee cup thing, which would be in line with this. They never sent the money, so it was like I felt like they were ripping people sending money off and me. So I quit using them. But I do appreciate it. But just hanging out and talking is enough. Hold on, I'm just kind of. I like how he broke the author's opening statement in chapters. Yeah, that was totally cool. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Rob Wood, I think he's a great prosecutor. Obviously, this case has been very heavy. It's been years and years and years going on. You know what I'm saying? So, thanks, H Mac. I appreciate it. So we're just kind of sitting here, just waiting for them to come back. I wonder what Pryor's going to do. So y'all, I was reading the chat before we got started, and some people were like, did he plea out? Did he plea out? I'm like, y'all, I'm going to absolutely die if he plead out. Here's my thing. I just need to get through the opening statements from the defense to hear what the excuse is for Chad. I am dying to hear this. There's so many things. The 2 pump chum. There's so many things that he could say. Number 1, thanks, Teresa. 10th super chat and live stream. Woohoo! Job at the Chud. I love it. And also, y'all, all the new member emojis are from Tori Wolf. They're amazing. Thank you. We appreciate it. Absolutely love them. They are so cute. Greatly appreciated. So he, in my opinion, we're about to find out, right? Hopefully, he's going to blame Alex. He is going to blame Lori in some way. I'm not sure how. But I think that not that I'm trying to come up with stuff for Chad. I think the smartest thing that he could do is to blame Alex. Now, do I think the evidence will show that that works? No, obviously, right. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know any other way that you can get around it. I mean, they pinged the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, what else? It's the easiest logical thing. Now, for all I know, he could come out of left field with something. You know what I mean? Which this whole case is based on coming out of left field, right? So there's that. Yeah, there's definitely something completely weird between Lori and Chad. That whole thing about like them talking about how she would run and jump up, or I'm sorry, well, Lori and Chad, but Lori and Alex. Like super creepy stuff, right? I mean, that dynamic between them, I was like, yeah, this isn't normal, whatever. And yeah, Mark, and first of all, hey, Mark, how are you doing? Mark, good point. To save face for his kids, he'll say he's innocent. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because remember, the kids are kind of, from what I understand, they're standing by his side. Thank you, Steffi. Oh my gosh, excuse me. So we'll just say, you know what I mean? But I think 100% he will. Hey, Dwayne, how's it going? Chat slave, slave bell. I mean, it just makes itself up. No one was to believe their parents murder. Yeah, and since 100%, since it says, I mean, no one wants to believe their parent is murder and crook. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing with when you get into like the family members who stick by and that kind of stuff. It's like, you know what? I get it. You know what I'm saying? If it's your child, your parent, whatever, I understand. I know, right, Jamie? I do yawn when I mention the name, right? Probably get him out with a Jezebel defense. It very well might. Oh wait, what have we got over here? Oh wait, is it coming on? Wait, hold on, let me get back over here, y'all. Please hold. Okay, no, it's not back on yet. Okay, please hold. Let me come back over here. I thought I was missing it. His phone call the last day of freedom tells all between he and Lori Hoare. 100%. Miss Piggy, I love it. Sleigh bells ring. Are you listening? Oh, no, wait, that was me. Sorry. I don't know if his kids are in the courtroom. Does anybody know? Yeah, so Pryor asked for a little bit of a recess before he starts, and so that's where we're at. Pryor was like, oh, Lord, let me get this going. You know what I'm saying? He's like in there like, he's like, how do I follow up with that? How do I follow up that opening statement? Loin Bell. I think I give him okay with life without profit. Yeah, 100%. And hey, Brown Eyed Girl, how are you doing? Yeah, he said, our Brown Eyed Girl says, I think he'll get the DP. But I'm fine with life without parole. Exactly. My viewpoint on Chad is he ain't leaving anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't know how it works where I'm assuming he's in jail. I'm assuming he's in protective custody. I don't know how it works with the situation he's in now, but I'm imagining that when he gets to prison with the crimes that he did, it's not going to be good. You know what I'm saying? These are not good charges to be in prison over. Not that there's any good reason to be. Pardon me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Emily, how's it going? Yep, sorry. Emily, we've become famous over here. We've been warding off trolls all morning. But it's actually been fun. It's kind of like a little tennis game. And some of their names are very creative. I will have to give that. But other than that, so Emily, if you haven't been watching, hey Norma Jean, hey Paul, team, but listening, cool. They are getting ready to do the opening statements for the defense. I got trolls on the sofa. There's some trolls in this house. There's some trolls in this house. Oh my gosh. There's some trolls in this house. There's some trolls in this house. Yeah, it's like whack-a-mole. Yeah, I've seen that TikTok where it's like where somebody will be pretending to be like on their deathbed or whatever, and they'll be like, play your grandmother that song that meant so much to me back when I was just a young girl in the summer of 22. And then it comes up, there's some trolls in this house. There's trolls in this house. If you know what song I'm talking about, you know what song I'm talking Oh my gosh. Oh my God, y'all. Yeah, I needed that. It was like, so in the beginning when it first started, I started getting all teary. It was almost like in a mode like, oh my God, here we are. So it's tap, tap in. I'm obsessed also with watching the so right now another thing on TikTok is it's like the whole thing is like anything but lift weights, and it'll show like people doing crazy workouts and stuff like with the bouncy things, which I'm like, if you're moving around and doing whatever, I don't have fun at it, but I get it. So but that's what they do. They love doing it to the song. Tap, tap, tap in. Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, so absolute side notes here, y'all. A couple of things. Number one, the Apple River trial. Y'all, so I don't know if we're gonna see how this goes today, like how long. I want to do a members chat where we can look at that whole video and talk about it because it's bad. And I know that I'm gonna put the whole video up here. I'll do a little video on it just to talk about it because I've been talking to so many of y'all about that thing. I have so many opinions on that. So there's that. Secondly, for those following JoJo Siwa cringe, you need to look up her podcast with Call Me Daddy, or Call Her Daddy. I can't remember the name of it. Very interesting, and you get some kind of answers as to what's all going on. And it's like a breather from this kind of heavy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Pardon me. And that's kind of it. Those were the two major things that have been happening in Sofa World today. Yeah, Danielle says watching the Apple River video gave me so. Yes, it is not for the faint of heart. That video, y'all, regardless of what side you're on, whatever, it's incredibly anxiety inducing just simply because of the teenagers, the way that they're screaming and yelling and all that kind of stuff. It's like, and trust me, I've got all sorts of opinions on both levels of it with that. I mean, all three parties I have opinions on, right? They're doing closing arguments today. So, we'll see. Let me get back to y'all. Where'd y'all go? Oh yeah, and Emily says, yeah, Dylan Round's remains were found yesterday, y'all. That's another case that's been going on for a while. Oh my gosh. Pardon me. Alexander. Oh wait, is it starting? Oh no, okay. Oh wait, sorry, that was me. I get confused. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the video. Yeah, thank God that Dylan's parents are able to put him to rest now. Oh wait, Ottawa Andy. And first of all, how are you doing, Andy? You want cringe Paul Ferguson singing to his fiance on a jail call? Oh my God, I get literally so many people ask me to cover those. I need to do a freedom of information thing and get the calls. Because I don't think I think that you have to get them by request. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they were put out by a news agency or anything. I know Sebastian Rogers. I started listening to those new 911 phone calls that came out with Madeline Soto. Y'all, that whole situation with that one too. tap in. Paul Ferguson, yeah, Paul. Oh Lord, I don't know if I can handle that. How did he get a girlfriend? Who in their? I mean, I have so many questions. I'm just reading your comments right now. I'm sorry. Now I went quiet for a second. I got lost in reading the comments. Oh yeah, and then the P Diddy case, Chrissy. That's another major one. Oh my gosh. Did y'all see? So, if you've been watching the P Diddy, so you see that thing with was it Mike Tyson where he was doing an interview on the talk show and he moved P Diddy's hand away from him, like it was too close to him. Oh wait, is it back on? Is it back on? Please hold, please hold. I mean, you know what? Pryor, I feel like is pulling some shenanigans right now. You know what I'm saying? There's some I know, right, Smog. There's some trolls in the court. There's some troll. Yeah, his name's Chad and whatever. I feel like Pryor's doing something shady right now. Yeah, Mike Tyson was not. Mike Tyson knew. He knew, right? That's the thing. Some of these people you hear these stories, whatever. He knew enough to know. Like, see, me and one of my coworkers have been following like stuff like we kind of like follow pop culture stuff together. And so P Diddy, we've been talking about all this stuff for a while, right? Not that I'm trying to say like, oh, we solved it by any means like that, but just all these stories about him that people have been talking about. Like, look, it's here's the drill, here's the drill. Um, it then makes you wonder. Oh wait, that's me. What does little Kim have to say about that? Like, she was all up in that Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I mean, and then like with a Biggie, what did he know? How long has P Diddy been doing this for? Please hold. Oh yeah, and the Justin Bieber thing. And I don't know if y'all saw this too. But when they showed like this montage of grown adults, some men, some women talking to Justin Bieber when he was a kid, just in interviews and stuff like that, where, pardon me, where it was like the stuff that they would say to him, you kind of see it and you're like, yo, why would you ask a kid that? And then one of them, like this woman says something to him, this interviewer, and he's like, I don't feel comfortable right now. Like, why do you want to know about my, what life? I'm 15. You know what I'm saying? And it was true. Like once you start viewing it, it's like, what? And yet Krista says Cat Williams called out Diddy like 2 months ago and Shannon podcast. Yes, Cat Williams has just been talking. Okay, first of all, for those who know Cat Williams, okay, did you first of all see where he read what is her name? Wanda? When all that stuff came out where he read her for filth on the show. Wait, hold on. Hold on. A magazine intro. I said there was somebody trying to that Diddy was the biggest jerk of them all. Oh my God, really, Chrissy? Other people too have been like coming out and talking about like, so okay, Jelly Roll and Bunny, if you know who I'm talking about, did a podcast with Tana, and I can't remember her co-host name. And Jelly Roll was saying that P Diddy was the only person that he had an opportunity to meet, and on the way, like they were basically like, okay, we're walking you back there to meet him. It was an award show. Pardon me. And he said halfway there, he's like, you know what, I'm good. He was like, I don't. Something about it, I just got this feeling where I was like, no, I'm good. And it's like it's the only time that I've got that vibe off of somebody. Yeah, Diddy, quiet on the set, everything everyone else. Yeah, literally. I mean, a lot of these people were people we watched. Okay, when I was growing up, like during the time that like Diddy, Lil Kim, Biggie were like popping. I didn't really listen to that kind of music at that point. I was in high school. I listened to more like alternative during that time. It was like shortly after high school that I really got into that, whatever. So But like when I came up, it was like Little Kim was like like how Nicki Minaj and Cardi B are right now. Like it was Little Kim. You know what I mean? Like they were the poppin' people. Um, so now to be and P Diddy, Big, all that whole crowd. Um, did y'all see Missy Elliott's going on tour? But and now to be like finding stuff out, I'm like, what? Like, huh? Yeah, it used to be Studio 21. Yep. Oh, you know Ellen. Ellen just has mega bad energy, which is odd because she did it for so long. But now that she got like exposed for being, you know, a kind of vile person, part of me, it's like interesting. Yeah, I always liked Little Kim. Um, and I like Biggie. And Pity, I was Pity. P. Diddy, I was never really into. Oh, you did Van Life? I would like to see him. Tim McGraw's coming through here. And let me tell you what, the tickets are not that expensive. But I'm like, it's not a good time to go. Rachel, I did not see that clip, but I'll look it up because I would love to. Remember Mace? Remember Mace and Mariah Carey's Honey remix? I mean, that was good. Tupac. I mean, yeah, that whole all of them were popping back then. I mean, a lot of them, their music, I mean, it's really, yeah, I like all kinds of music. I mean, see, I can sit here and talk about, I like Lil Kim. I love Tim McGraw too. Loretta Lynn, Dolly. I mean, I listen to everything. I listen to everything. Mace. Yeah, we got Mace up in the room, y'all. Mace is like, I don't remember doing a Mariah Carey remix, but I'll go with it. Tabitha says, you think Chad and Lori still portal to each other through the jail cells? You know they do. You know they do. Just portaling left and damn right every time they can. I mean, my gosh. The Cure. I love The Cure too. I saw them in concert last year. It was a bucket list thing for me. Yeah, now 50 Cent has been talking about P. Diddy. Period. End of story. He's been telling. There's a lot of people that sitting back like, I told you. Just like Mariah Carey with J Lo right now. You know, Mariah Carey's like, I've been telling y'all this. You know what I'm saying? I have been telling y'all this. Yeah, The Cure is probably one of my favorite bands of all time. End of story. Point blank. Period. Like when I think of like groups that changed my life, like that kind of influence, The Cure, Indigo Girls, um, Jules, what do people do? Like do you was an hour away? Like, do you run into people that know him around that area? If so, what do they say? The Cure, the Indigo Girls, Jane's Addiction. But like on an emotional level, I would say like The Cure and the Indigo Girls were my two. You know what I'm saying? Like formative groups that like had a huge influence on my like outlook on life. Which I know a lot of people might be like, "Well, The Cure is so depressing." I just didn't find. I mean, some of their stuff is, but yeah, Daydream was such a good album. Oh my god. I would love to have seen Jane's Addiction back in the day. Journey was good. I've been in a mega wait, I saw Faith Hill together. Tim was so great live, and I have seen Indigo Girls too. So good. Oh yeah. I would love to see Tim and Faith together. I just love them. Yeah, U2 was really good. I've been on a mega Def Leppard kick at the gym. Like that is who I am listening to big time at the gym right now. Um, yeah, Depeche Mode. Oh, the Pixies. I love the Pixies. Yes. There goes your man. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Let's make sure the thing has a go. I mean, what is Pryor doing, y'all? Y'all, it's day one. We did this on the day one of the jury selection. You know what I'm saying? Watch, he's in there pleading out now. He was probably like, I want to hear what they have to say on the opening statements. And he's like, yeah, I would probably plea out, Chad. I'd probably go ahead and plea out at this point. We just got started. I just got my shoes on. I teach group fitness and definitely. Oh yeah. Pour some sugar on me. Photograph hysteria. I mean, I can't. I'm just like mega Def Leppard kick right now. They are so good at the gym. Throw back a Red Bull, put some Def Leppard on. Oh my god, makes me want to go back to the gym right now. Okay, hold on. Lauren said it takes at least 20 minutes alone for jurors to go to the restroom. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that, Kylie. Warrant. Yep. Yeah, probably ran away. Wait. Oh, you saw Tina Turner? That would have been another amazing one. Oh my God, Grateful Dead. Yes, I wish I could have seen them. Emily says I'm just an old hippie. We love you, Emily. I used to think he's saying pour some shook on ramen. Deliver Tonight is one of my favorite songs. Yeah, like Robert Plant. Yeah, he was good. My first concert was the first one. Y'all want to know who my first true concert was? Y'all brace yourselves for this. Okay, I'll tell you two. The first true, like, big name concert that I went to, my mother took me to, it was New Kids on the Block. Now, this was in 6th grade, I think. And so I don't even think I told anybody because you're at that age, especially for being a guy. Like, you don't want people to, you know what I'm saying? Like, know that you went to that. My mom took me there. Then maybe like the next month was my first real concert, second one, whatever. And it was Janet Jackson. And let me tell you what, when I tell you that I fell in love with Janet Jackson. Okay, if you went in my room, y'all, I'm talking floor to ceiling. If there was any picture I could get my hands on of Janet Jackson, my wall was covered in it. Nothing but Janet Jackson. I knew the dances to every song she did. Oh my God, Nirvana would have been an amazing first concert. I'm going to see Janet. Okay, I'll say this. I went to see Janet 2 years ago on her like greatest hits tour, whatever. Y'all, she still is Janet. She dances not like she did. You know what I'm saying? She's got to take a breather. But I'm talking, it's Janet Jackson. I mean, I will always love that woman. Always will love that woman. Mom was covered in Prince was another amazing one. You saw her concert in Massachusetts, of course. I love my new kids. All right, Chrissy. I watched her. Yeah, good time. She was amazing on there. Elton John, George Michael, Rolling Stones would have been amazing. Trish, oh my God. NWA was good too. Y'all got some good music going on. Oh my God, Corky's going to see New Kids on the Block in June with 5 other girls she went to high school with. That's amazing. Lisa in the cold. Oh my God, that was good. Yeah, Janet was. I mean, let me tell you what. I mean, Miss Janet, Miss Jackson, Miss Nasty. Mm. Wait, Emily says, here we go. Please hold. Oh, wait.
All rise. Very present and accounted for.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. We've concluded our morning recess. We're back on the record on KCR 22-21-16-23, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. This is the time we'll next have opening statements by the defense. Mr. Pryor, is the defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, may I have the post permission to enter the well?
You may.
Thank you.
And maybe check that microphone to make sure it is working. Okay?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As an introduction, I'm John Pryor. I'm the defense attorney for Mr. Daybell. And I'm from Meridian, Idaho. I'm an attorney from Meridian, Idaho, over here on the west side of the state. I want to talk to you a little bit today. And at my age, video presentations are not something that would come easy to me. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about my view of the case and the facts and evidence. And what's important are facts and evidence. I think that when we went through the jury selection process, we talked about facts and we talked about evidence. And the judge gave you an instruction to talk to you a little bit about you take into consideration the facts of this case and not be distracted by other things. Don't be distracted by speculation. Don't be distracted by guesses or assumptions or hunches. It all comes down to facts and evidence. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the facts and evidence in this case. Chad Daybell, and I'm learning this, and I've had some time to learn about this because it didn't come natural to me. But Chad Daybell went on what's called a mission early on in his life. And I guess what a mission is, I'm not familiar with that, but I guess what a mission is they go away to a location and they talk to people about their religious beliefs. And Chad's faith, that was important as part of his faith. And when they return from these missions, they start the process of moving on with their lives. And when Chad got back from doing his mission in New Jersey, he met Tammy Daybell. Another fact that I discovered, and you'll hear a little bit about, is that Chad had an extended engagement, had an extended by his faith standards romance before they got married. Chad and Tammy dated for approximately 6 months. And what I understand is by their nature, 6 months is an extended dating process before you end up getting married. So after 6 months, they got married. They were married in Utah and proceeded then to have children. They have 5 children, now all 5 adult children. At some point, they moved back here to Idaho, or moved to Idaho, and they started a small publishing company. And you'll hear testimony that the publishing company was predominantly run by Tammy. Tammy managed it. Tammy was the brains behind the company. And Tammy basically took the reins and did everything that was necessary to move this publishing company. It was a small publishing company, a very small publishing company. And what they did is basically publish books. Chad would write these books, and he would write these books about his religious experiences. In his faith, he had certain beliefs, the faith that he practiced. You know, when he went on his mission, when he, read his interpretation of the books that he used for his faith, he started writing books about things that were consistent with his faith. Things like premonitions. We've all heard of premonitions, about being able to predict things, about being able to see maybe when things happen. And some people believe in that, some people don't. Some people have personally experienced that, or I've been here before. But he writes about his premonitions. He writes about good and evil. and what it means to be good, what it means to be evil. He writes about dark and light. He writes about subjects that are a little darker, like death, and maybe the coming of the end of things, and when his savior in his mind is going to come back, and maybe there'll be some kind of a redemption of some sort. But his books covered a lot of subjects like that, and they were all based on fiction. In other words, he was writing these books about theories and things that came into his head, and he would write these stories. But he also wrote children's books, and he wrote books for teenagers, and he wrote these books about adventures and then some crazy ideas about things that kids and teenagers get involved in. In about October of 2018, Chad was going out and he was invited by one of the witnesses that you'll hear in this case to speak about his books. And this was not uncommon. He would travel and he would be asked to say, well, come and talk about some of the things that you believe in. You've talked about these premonitions, some life experiences. You're going to hear testimony about that. And he was invited on one particular occasion in late October. And he attended this, and while he was there trying to sell his books, and like most of us who are business people, the focus of these meetings really was for Chad to try to get his books published, because that's how he made a living. And he was there in one of his booths trying to promote his books, and he laid them out there. And this beautifully stunning woman named Lori Vallow comes up. And she starts giving him a lot of attention. And she pursued him. And she encouraged him. And you'll hear testimony that she went so far as to grab behind the booth and sort of help him in trying to sell some of his books. She obviously had an interest, and maybe she felt that he was this publisher, or maybe she had an opinion. You'll hear testimony about that. And then after the seminar, there was a length of time where there was no contact between the two of them. A month and a half, 2 months. And during that time, Chad Daybell went on his day-to-day life. He'd been married to Tammy for some 29 years, has no remarkable background of any kind. I think the testimony we'll offer will show I think he had a speeding ticket in 2005. But Lori Vallow was a different story. Lori Vallow was someone who, right out of high school, married her first husband. You'll hear testimony about this. That marriage was very short-lived, very short-lived. She then married husband number 2 a few years later. And again, very short-lived marriage. And there's some testimony indication that there were some problems with the marriage that caused the breakup. But the theme seems to be that Lori's brother, Alex, and you're going to hear about Alex Cox. Alex Cox was Lori's protector. Alex Cox would do anything and everything to protect, aid, and assist Lori Vallow in whatever her endeavors, without unbridled question, anything. And if Alex Cox even perceived that there was a problem, Alex Cox reacted. You're going to hear testimony that in 2007, I believe it was in August of 2007, Lori Vallow had finished up going through her third marriage with Joseph Ryan. It was a tumultuous, you'll hear testimony that it was a tumultuous marriage, a terrible marriage. Lori Vallow made accusations against Joseph Ryan of abusing their child Tylee. Yes, the same Tylee. And during one of the visits of 2007, folks, and I want to tell you, you're going to hear testimony that in 2007, Chad Daybell didn't even know Lori Vallow existed. But Alex Cox, after one of the exchanges and the visitations with Tylee, Alex Cox approached Joseph Ryan and shot him with a taser and assaulted him. Was eventually charged with aggravated assault, was eventually put in jail, and had this on his record. And there is representation, the facts will suggest that at the time Joseph Ryan feared for his life. This was a serious situation. But it set the pattern for what we're dealing with Alex Cox. whenever there was a problem or a threat to Lori Vallow, you'll hear testimony that Alex Cox came to the rescue. But Alex Cox would run without even question and do whatever was necessary to solve Lori Vallow's problems. We're going to fast forward then to 2019. Lori Vallow is still married to Charles Vallow. And the prosecuting attorney mentioned this, yes. Chad Daybell at that point, coming in January and February, started to have communications with Lori Vallow. And yes, folks, it turned into an inappropriate relationship. 2019 forward. And yes, he was engaging in discussions. He was engaging in contact with her, all of the things that the prosecutor talked about in terms of a relationship. But subsequent to the seriousness of this relationship getting rolling, Alex Cox was at a visitation in 2019 with Charles Vallow. And Lori Vallow was there. Tyree Ryan was there. JJ was there. They were all present. And during that altercation and that supposed visit, much like with Joseph Ryan, Alex Cox took out a gun and shot Charles Vallow. And then after calling 911, he then finished the job and walked up to him at close range, finished him off. Now, you're going to hear testimony that in some way Chad Daybell was implicated in that. And you're going to hear further testimony that he was not. You're going to hear testimony and see documentation that suggests that the prosecuting attorney on review of this indicated that there is no likelihood of conviction of Chad Daybell. You'll hear testimony that Chad Daybell had nothing to do with the execution by Alex Cox, Charles Vallow. And the same for Brandon Boudreaux. You will hear that Chad Daybell is not being pursued for any involvement in the Brandon Boudreaux attempted murder. Those occurred and those are separate, as well as the Charles Vallow. So what we have is we have a situation where someone who's 29 years old, Chad Daybell, 29 years of marriage with Tammy Daybell, no discernible issues in his life. And then Lori Vallow comes in the picture, Miss Texas. You'll hear testimony about this beautiful, vivacious woman, very sexual person, and very manipulative. And she knows how to get what she wants. And she drew Chad Daybell into a relationship, and an unfortunate relationship, that Chad fell into. After that, things started rolling, issues started happening, but eventually, yes, there was a murder and there was a burial. And you've heard discussion about the backyard of Chad Daybell. Well, we have a 4.5 acre farm in Fremont County, Idaho. And you'll hear testimony that the body of J.J. Vallow was discovered behind an irrigation pond and a tree out in the pasture. So technically, yes, maybe the backyard, but more accurately described as the pasture, hidden behind a tree. You're going to hear testimony that also in the middle of this pasture was a raspberry patch, former raspberry patch, that was then turned into a place for them to bury the cats, the dogs, and all of the animals on the farm. Okay. Again, out in the pasture of the field and not the backyard. You'll hear testimony about that. You're going to hear from 4 experts that I'm going to bring forward. And these 4 experts, the first one is going to be Dr. Greg Hampikian. And Dr. Hampikian is a bit of a notable local from Boise State University. And Dr. Hampikian is a DNA expert, considered one of the best DNA experts. He's been involved and has significant work that he's done on both the defense and for the prosecution. He was involved and led the team with Amanda Knox in Italy that got her exonerated because of the DNA evidence. He has substantial experience. And anybody or anyone who knows anything about DNA goes to Dr. Hampikian first, because he is the guy. And Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk a little bit about the DNA evidence that's found on the scene. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about the fingerprint on the plastic that J.J. Vallow was discovered in, was that of Alex Cox. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about the hair sample that was found on the plastic of Alex Cox and that it was Lori Vallow. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about several, and I mean several other hairs that were found on the plastic of J.J. Vallow. But he's also going to say that there was no DNA evidence, no hair sample of Chad Daybell on Tylee Ryan or on J.J. Vallow. You're then going to hear from Dr. Raven. Dr. Raven is a forensic pathologist, and she's going to talk a little bit about the circumstances surrounding Tammy Daybell. And what Dr. Raven is going to say is that there's no indication that this is either a homicide or any other crime, and that the only conclusion she can come to is you can't determine what the cause of death was. There's no way to determine it. Tammy Daybell was buried. You'll hear testimony about that. And then a short time later, the police officers showed up and they dug her body up after she'd been buried, after she was laid to rest, and then continued after the body was pulled out of the ground and continued to examine it for whatever they were looking for. And what you're going to find is based on that, Dr. Raven's going to say you can't determine what the cause of death is. You're going to hear testimony from the Daybell children, from the children themselves, 4 of the 5 children, I think, three or four of the 5 children. They're going to talk about their mother's health struggles. They're going to talk about their mother's use of various medicinal treatments that she would use, oils that she would put on her leg, medicine and different herbs that she would take, and that her mother was suffering from, that their mother was suffering from a number of maladies, and that she would refuse to go see a doctor or get it treated. And Dr. Raven's going to enlighten you a little bit about some of the circumstances regarding Tammy Daybell. You're then going to hear from Patrick Eller. He's a forensic digital data examiner. And Patrick Eller is someone who has spent his life in the military working for various agencies, and we'll talk a little bit about that, within the government to do data retrieval and data research. And he's going to talk a little bit about the phone records that are involved in this case. He's going to specifically talk about the travels of Alex Cox, because you are going to hear testimony that Alex Cox went to Chad Daybell's property on the 9th of September. You're going to hear that Alex Cox approached Chad Daybell's property a half a dozen other, 5 or 6 other times. You're going to hear testimony that Alex Cox was there on the 23rd. And you're going to hear where Alex Cox was in a number of other times and places in his whereabouts and his travels for about a 2.5 month period. And Patrick is going to, offer you some information and data to support all of that. And finally, you're going to hear from a forensic anthropologist, and his name's Eric Bartlink. And Mr. Bartlink is going to talk to you a little bit about the nature and the nature of how the remains of Tylee were burned. Eric Bartlink is going to talk to you a little bit about the lack of complete skeletal remains and why, when Tylee was dug down the ground, there was not a complete set of skeletal remains. In fact, there were a number of pieces of that were missing. You're going to hear a lot of evidence, and the judge has talked to us a little bit about not making a decision until you hear all of the evidence. And there's a specific jury instruction that talks about that. The jury instruction is, consider all the evidence. Listen to the instructions from the court on how you're to proceed. Listen to the arguments of the prosecuting attorney and the defense, and then and only then do you make your decision. And at the conclusion of all that evidence, and at the conclusion of the judge's instructions, the arguments of both of the defense attorneys, I'm going to ask you folks to return a verdict not guilty. Thank you, folks. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the opening statement of the defense then. This time we will commence with presenting evidence. I understand the state does have a first witness to call. Is the state ready and prepared to do that?
Your Honor, the state is prepared. We had spoken with your clerk earlier. We thought we were going to have a brief sidebar.
Okay, let's discuss our schedule and put there in sidebar. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was going to be much longer and more drawn out than that. Okay. I'm just going to be honest about that part. Totally thought it was going to be way longer. That's going to scare me because I have the volume on or whatever. Okay. So what do we have so far? We have, it's Lori. First of all, Lori's a core whore. We already knew this. Nothing to see at that train wreck. Same train wreck spread all over the place. Been a core whore, gonna do core whore things. Core whore is gonna core whore. Core whore is gonna core whore. Okay. So Alex, lapdog, helped the core whore, 100%. Tammy, some kind of poisoning from herbs she put on herself, probably. Chad, innocent bystander in it all. He's only guilty of harboring the perfect storm, if you will. Court hoe. She's a court hoe also. Oh wait, hold on. Wait. See I need to look in the other screen. Okay, I need to look over here. There's some cores in this house. There's some cores in this house. Oh my gosh. Can't make a core whore housewife. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and Old Soul says the thing is how do all these people drop dead around him? No one is that unlucky. Exactly. Amen. Yeah, I was prepared for this to go on for hours. I'm actually in shock right now. I'm in shock right now that that's all Pryor did. He's done. Pryor's like, look. He's like, look, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. But at the end of the day, he's like, what can I say? At the end of the day, what can I say? It just so happens he's a grave digger. I mean, come on. Yeah, Rain, you bring up a good point. Rain says, how does he maintain his weight on prison food? I wonder if he has like what do you call it? Commissary money coming out like from his kids and stuff. Oh yeah, Lori is in that. Lori is just banging on that damn portal door right now. But sadly, probably what she'll do when she finds out about this is she's gonna look at it like Ruby and Jody of, we're the victims. This is part of our plight to be part of God's children and to do this work is we're being irrationally, sought after or whatever the word is. Okay, I think they're coming back. Okay, it's gonna all of a sudden make some noise and scare me. Just know that.
Council, thanks for discussing scheduling. Our intention here will be to start with the state's first witness that apparently will take some time. So we will plan on taking a lunch hour also at right around noon if possible. So
okay.
What are you going to be calling the first witness?
Yes, Your Honor, and the state will be calling right from the scene.
All right, well, call your witness. We'll have him come up and sworn.
Who was it? Is the detective?
Please, Madam Clerk, raise your right hand and swear.
Okay, yeah.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give within the truth, but nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, Bren. Prior was fast, but still boring. Oh, excuse me. I'm rejecting prior. My body is still rejecting.
So as you testify, just remember to
I'm going to
make
mute
any
now.
audible response to anything being questioned, so that the record stays clear, and try to avoid speaking over the top of anyone questioning you. That in mind, then, if you would, if you'd like to inquire, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, will you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Ray Hermosillo, Hermosillo. Is that on?
Your Honor, is that microphone on?
I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start over and just talk right into the mic, please.
Detective, will you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Ray Hermosillo, Hermosillo.
Thank you. Detective Hermosillo, what is your occupation?
I'm currently a lieutenant in the detective division for the Rexburg Police Department.
How long have you been a detective?
5 years.
And how long were you involved in law enforcement before you became a detective?
Before I was a detective, 18 years.
Have you worked for any other law enforcement agency other than the Rexburg Police?
No,
And are you post-certified?
I am.
Detective, have you been involved in the case regarding Chad Daybell?
Yes, I have.
You know what Chad Daybell looks like?
I do.
Is he present in this courtroom?
He is. He's at the defendant's table for sure in a low screen time.
Thank you. Detective, let's talk about how did you initially become involved in the investigation regarding Mr. Daybell?
On November 1st, 2019, I was contacted by Fremont County Sheriff's Office. I was told that there was possibly a Jeep that was involved in an attempted homicide in our jurisdiction. So at that time, with that information, I contacted Gilbert Police and asked what they needed us to do to assist them.
What did you do?
Gilbert Police asked us to seize the Jeep if it was located. They gave us the address of 565 Pioneer, which is Rock Creek Townhomes. They also asked us,
Detective, I'm going to stop real quick. Where is that address located? What city?
Rexburg,
What county is Rexburg in?
Madison County.
So once you received that address, what did you do?
Gilbert asked us to seize the Jeep if we had located the Jeep. They also asked us to perform intermittent surveillance. So at that time, that's exactly what we did.
When you say intermittent surveillance, what did you do to perform that surveillance?
When we were driving around, when there was no more calls coming in, we would park in front of the residence, behind the residence, take photographs of anybody leaving or coming in. That's basically what we did for the surveillance.
And do you recall what dates you did that surveillance?
The dates were between November 1st and November 4th when I located the Jeep at 565 Pioneer.
Did you ever see the defendant at that address?
I did. There were a few times during the intermittent surveillance that we had taken photographs of the defendant, Mr. Daybell, and Lori Vallow, either coming or going from the residence.
And that was between the dates of November 1st and November 4th.
Judge, could we have for the record have this officer established?
I'm sorry, 2019.
Errol.
Right, and did you, when you talked about seeing Mr. Daybell, was that between those dates of November 1st and November 4th, 2019?
That's correct.
And your primary job was to look for a Jeep, is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I'm gonna ask that the witness be handed what's been marked, the state's exhibit 90.
Very well.
The court has a courtesy copy and counsel as well.
Mr. Wood, to be clear, it sounded like you said 90, this is 9A.
I believe it's 90. Double check.
Can I just see the exhibit so I can confirm my words? It's okay.
You're correct, Honor, 9A,
Thank you.
and that would be exhibits 9A through 90. Detective, do you recognize state's exhibits 9A through 9B?
Yes, I do.
What do they purport to be?
That is the Jeep that I had seized, parked in the parking lot just outside of 565.
And were these pictures taken at the location of 565 Pioneer?
No, these photographs were taken at our impound lot at the police department.
Did you take these pictures?
I did not.
But do you recognize these images as true and accurate representations of the Jeep you seized from 565 Pioneer Drive?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the state's exhibits 9A through D be entered into evidence.
The objection from the defense.
Judge, I'd like to move on to your immediate action on the foundation.
All right, you can voir dire or ask foundational questions, Mr. Pryor.
Officer Hermosillo, thank you. You mentioned that you were doing surveillance on the Jeep, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have an occasion to get close to the Jeep during that surveillance?
We hadn't located the Jeep during that surveillance. I located the Jeep on November 4th, 2019, and that's when I had it impounded.
Okay, and at the time of being impounded, did you have the occasion to go through the Jeep and observe the Jeep enter? Or were you relying just on the photographs taken in the Jeep? Do you understand my question?
No, sir. Can you
I'll
repeat it?
rephrase that. Did you have a personal occasion to go through the inside of that Jeep and observe the contents within the Jeep?
Your Honor, I think that goes beyond the scope of this specific exhibit.
I guess the issue, Mr. Wood, is he indicated he did not take these photographs, and some of the exhibits also contain photographs of the interior of the Jeep, so it's proper voir dire and of an objection.
Thank you. May I continue, Judge?
Yes.
Officer, all I'm trying to establish is I don't want you to be able to testify that someone else took the pictures and this is what they found. I want you to be able, you're authenticating and you're under oath to swear that these are accurate photos. I'm trying to find out if that knowledge is based on your personal experience, or is it simply based on the fact that you're relying on somebody else who told you this is what we found? So that's what I'd like you to clarify for me, if you would, sir.
Sure. I impounded the Jeep. I was standing next to the officer taking the photographs, and I also went through the Jeep personally.
Okay, I withdraw the objection. Thank you, officer.
All right, exhibits 9A through D are admitted.
Thank you. May I publish it to the jury?
You may want to have a quick sidebar with counsel.
Like a reporter.
Yo, I forgot about the obscene amount of sidebars that take place in a prior trial. I forgot about this part. Oh my gosh. I'm happy and thankful and grateful that we got through the opening as we did. that part was shocking, to be quite honest. Uh, but this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fall out. I'm going to fall. You know, Hermosillo's like, this is the second time I've dealt with this man. I mean, the thing about this case is I mean, for years, this has gone on for years. Yeah, it says, I nearly died this morning. You said Roscoe was deep clean. I know. When I filmed that Gypsy Rose video, I literally I turned around and Roscoe, I mean, just going to town, would not stop. And I was like, dude, I cannot have you doing that in the background. You know what I'm saying? And Emily says, I'm amazed 4 of his kids will testify. Me too, Emily. Oh my gosh. That part, I'm like, wow. Yeah, Roscoe was, I was like, dude, yeah, no shame in his game. No shame in his game. Okay. Sometimes I forget now when I'm going back and like editing or whatever, looking at him like, oh God, please don't let him be back there doing like, you know, whatever. But I caught him this time. I was like, dude, because you know that licking sound that it makes, that I'm like, even if he's just doing his foot or something, I'm like, dude, we can't. That literally triggers me. Number one, I can't have that on the video. Yeah, Jules, it isn't. Jules says every time prior to the sidebar chat, we can chat. Yeah, 100%. I can't stop. See, even just the noise. My George does it too. Yeah, it's just a doggy thing. Hey, Joanne, how's it going? Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm waiting to see what his kids are going to say too. Especially about the where. So this is going to give us a snapshot into where things are at. Sounds good, Emily. Whack-a-mole. Oh, enjoy your park. I bet it's beautiful. Emily lives in such a beautiful area. I'm curious to see what the kids say about their mother's health now, or if they've had time to go back over it. You know what I'm saying? And be like, this doesn't really make sense, or, you know, kind of just question it. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, let's get down. I guess I can take this off now. We're past opening statements. Hide, and let's come back over. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Here we go. I'm going to mute myself again, y'all.
All right, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to proceed with publishing the court's instructions there on the sidebar, then you may publish any or all of the photos.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if I could have access to the album. Detective, is this what you saw in State's Exhibit A?
Yes,
Is this the Jeep that you had been assigned to do surveillance for?
that's right.
Did you ever learn who this Jeep belonged to?
I did.
Who did it belong to?
It was registered to Charles Vallow, but we later determined that Tylee Ryan drove that Jeep.
Detective, this is State's Exhibit 9B. Is this that same Jeep?
Yes.
That's all I'm going to publish from now. Your turn.
All right, thank you.
Detective, while you were doing your surveillance, you testified that you had occasion to see the defendant, Lori Vallow. Did you ever see children return?
No, we didn't.
Did you ever see anybody else with them?
No.
That's good. Were you, at that time, were you aware of who JJ Vallow was?
No,
Were you aware of who Tyree Ryan was?
no,
So when you spoke with, is it fair to say that when you were initially contacted by another law enforcement agency, they did not ask you to look for those children at that time?
that's correct.
Detective, did your role in this investigation change after that?
It did.
When did that happen?
After I had seized the Jeep November 4th, 2019, I contacted Gilbert Police and let them know I had the Jeep. Gilbert Police Department flew to Rexburg with a few of their detectives and a few of their crime analysts to go through the Jeep and serve a warrant with the Jeep. They were looking for the infotainment center, which is the middle of the Jeep console, has the GPS locations, things of that nature, and they wanted the information extracted. So when they were up here on November 18th, 2019, they asked me and the other detectives if during our intermittent surveillance, if we had seen any children. And we told them we hadn't. They stated that JJ's grandmother.
Judge, I'm gonna object. I'm trying to be somewhat open-minded about foundation, but I'm gonna object.
I'll ask a question, Your Honor.
Go ahead, thanks.
So you did have further contact with law enforcement from Arizona?
Correct.
And which law enforcement agency was that?
Gilbert Police Department.
And was it Gilbert Police Department that was looking for that Jeep?
Yes, it was.
When you followed up with them about the Jeep, did they give you any other information about their case?
They did.
Did any of that information regard children?
Yes, it did.
What were you told by Gilbert Police?
Judge, objection, hearsay.
Coming in for the effect on the listener, Your Honor.
Judge, can we approach?
No, give me a moment to make a ruling on that. I'll start, the witness can answer the question, but for only the purpose of effect on the listener, if you can clarify that to your witness, Mr. Wood. Sure. And any objections overruled.
Detective, based on your conversation with Gilbert Police, did you take any action regarding any children involved in this case?
Yes, we did.
And for the purpose of what you did, what information were you given that you needed to look up on?
We were informed through their investigation that JJ Vallow's grandmother was concerned for his safety.
Judge, and again, I'm gonna object at this point to renew my objection. That's going beyond.
I'll also stand that as bringing up your statement, Mr. Wood.
Okay. Based on your conversation with Gilbert Police, what was the next step you took in your investigation?
When we were requested to do a welfare check on JJ Vallow from the Gilbert Police Department.
Detective, had you ever met JJ Vallow?
No,
Were you provided any identifying information as to his age or where he might be?
we were provided very little information, just a brief description of what he looked like, his age, and where he should be, which was 565 Pioneer Road, where he lived with his mother, Lord Vallow.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 1.
Judge, I'm gonna stipulate to the admission of states exhibit one.
All right, it's being offered, Mr. Wood.
Yes, Your Honor.
States exhibit one has been offered without objection. The court will admit states exhibit one.
And Your Honor, with that stipulation, I'd actually ask that the witness be handed States Exhibit 2 and States Exhibit 3 as well.
Further stipulate to states exhibit two, stipulate to states exhibit three.
Very well. Then presuming they're being offered, states exhibits 2 and 3 are also admitted. And Mr. Wood, if they're going to be published, again, it's an issue we discussed before today's.
That's all I'm doing about. Thank you. Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 1?
Okay.
What is States Exhibit 1?
That is a birth certificate out of the state of Louisiana.
Your Honor, where this is, may I publish?
Yeah.
Detective, can you identify who this is a birth certificate for?
The name on my birth certificate is Canaan Todd Trahan,
What is the birth date?
May 25th, 2012.
And where is the place of birth?
Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Your Honor, if I may publish States Exhibit 2.
You know,
Detective, I'm going to ask you to turn to the second page of States Exhibit 2. Detective, what is States Exhibit 2?
It's a decree of adoption.
And reading through that, are you aware of who that is a decree of adoption for?
Yes,
Who is it for?
Canaan Todd Trahan.
And on the bottom of that, can you read the second to the bottom paragraph? That exhibit.
The entire paragraph.
Yes, please.
It is further ordered, the judge can decree that the name of the child, Canaan Todd Trahan, be changed as follows. Joshua Jackson Vallow, and the Registrar of the Louisiana Department of Public Health and Statistics is hereby ordered to make the appropriate changes in its records.
Okay. May I publish States Exhibit 3 now?
yes.
Detective, what is States Exhibit 3?
That is also a birth certificate from the state of Louisiana.
And who is it a birth certificate for?
Joshua Jackson Vallow.
Detective, in the course of your investigation. In the course of your investigation, have you learned what Joshua Jackson or JJ Vallow looked like?
Yes,
Have you seen pictures of him?
yes, I have.
Were you able to access pictures of him from iCloud accounts associated with his mother?
Yes,
Your Honor, I ask that the witness be handed States Exhibit 4.
All right, the witness is here in the State's Exhibit 4.
Detective, you testified that you never met JJ Ballard, correct?
Correct.
How did you come to know what he looked like?
Through photographs we were given.
Where did you get those photographs?
We received a few from Gilbert Police. His grandmother, Kay Woodcock. I think that's all I can remember.
And I spoke with you briefly before. Did you ever have occasion to review iCloud accounts belonging to Lori Vallow?
Yes, we did.
And on those iCloud accounts, did you find other pictures of JJ Vallow?
Yes, we did.
And did you find videos of JJ Vallow?
Yes.
Based on your investigation, what does Exhibit 4 purport to be?
Photograph of JJ Ballard.
And you didn't take this picture, correct?
Correct.
But you recognize that individual as Joshua or JJ Vallow?
Yes.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, the state would move to admit the State's Exhibit 4.
The objection.
Judge, there's a little bit of foundation that I want to iron on. So what's the source of that picture? Where did
Lori's iCloud, Lori for Style, iCloud.com.
Judge, can we approach just briefly on this issue?
Y'all, they're taking me out over here, y'all. Y'all, they are taking me out. Okay. I'm over here like, I mean, this is bad. I'm not trying to like make light of it in this way. Like, I know it's serious, but like, this is the part where I'm like, oh my gosh, their voices are so monotone. You know what I'm saying? The thing is this kind of stuff right here, this preliminary stuff they're going through all this. First of all, you know, again, they've gone through these particular things with Hermosillo and all this type of stuff, and doing these very nit gritty details and stuff are very necessary, obviously. But again, it's just this kind of mundane, like, okay, very basic, very calm. You know, it's warm in the room that I'm in. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I hate to say that, but I'm just like, their voices just kind of lull me into that.
Based on our sidebar with counsel, I understand the defense does not have an objection at this point to Exhibit 4 being submitted. Is that correct, Mr. Pryor?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 4 then is submitted.
He was like, based on this stuff we just the sidebar, I'm resigning. He's like, I'm out.
Like, who is that?
That's JJ Ballard.
Detective, you were talking about receiving a request to do a welfare check, correct?
That's correct.
When did you receive that request?
On November 25th, 2019, in late evening hours, I received a call from Detective Pillar with the Gilbert Police Department, and he requested that
Judge, I'm going to object.
The request isn't hearsay.
Yeah, look,
At this
Look,
point, I don't have
Pryor.
an objection on hearsay, so you.
Look.
see.
let's just get this. Look, go on,
I repeat the question.
go on.
What did you do in response?
Let's make this real quick.
On November 25th, 2019.
Saving
I
some
received a
taxpayer
call
money.
from Detective Pillar, of the Gilbert Police Department. He requested that I do a welfare check on JJ Ballard the next morning.
Amen,
Because
Jay.
he wasn't able to get a hold of JJ or
Obviously, standards you're saying.
Did you do a welfare check for JJ Bell?
We did.
What date did you do that?
November 26, 2019.
Now, this
How
is
did
my
you go about doing
question.
On that morning of November 26, 2019, myself and Detective Daybell went to Lori Bellow's residence where we presumed JJ was at. She lived at 565 Pioneer, apartment 175. As we approached, expecting to speak with Lori, we noticed the defendant, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox unloading a pickup truck near the.
Okay, y'all, wait, I muted this for a second. This is my question. When they get to the part, if we're even here, because it could happen later or whatever, how do you think that they're going to not show like the autopsy photos? Because I don't want those. Like, I need to figure out how for that not to be shown. You see what I'm saying? So if anybody has any suggestions on that, drop it in the thing. I'll go turn the volume back on now. But they're not.
I got out of my vehicle and made contact with Alex. He was standing at the driver's side of his pickup truck, and the defendant Daybell was on the passenger side. I asked Alex if Lori Vallow was home, and he stated that she wasn't home. I asked Alex if JJ was home, that we were there to do a welfare check. And at that point, Alex got a surprised, frightened look on his face, looked over at across the pickup at the defendant Daybell. The defendant Daybell then looked back at Alex. And initially, neither one of them answered my question.
After they didn't answer your question, what did you do?
I asked them again if JJ was home, and Alex Cox finally answered and stated that JJ was with his grandmother in Louisiana.
When you were given that information, did it cause you any concern?
It did, because I informed Alex that it was highly unlikely because his grandmother.
Judge, I'm gonna object at this point. We're gonna be getting into some soon.
Also saying that.
Your Honor, I think the defendant's about to testify what he said to Alex Cox.
Okay, that's not what I understood where it was going. You can ask the question, Mr. Wood.
Detective, what did
Yeah.
you say to Alex Cox?
I informed Alex that it was unlikely because Kay.
Judge, I'm gonna object. This is going to lead into hearsay.
Your Honor, this is a statement by a declarant on the witness seat. It cannot be hearsay.
Overruled, and it is permissible, so objection overruled.
What did you say to Alex Cox?
I informed Alex that it was unlikely that JJ was with his grandmother Kay because she was the one who called in the welfare check.
And what was the response to that?
There was no response initially. Alex again looked over at the defendant Daybell, and they kind of both just looked at each other. And at that point, I asked Alex where I could find Lori Bell.
He's like, I don't know who
Or
Lori
did
is.
he give you a location to find her?
He stated that she was in apartment 107, which is the same apartment complex, just a few apartments down.
What did you do at that point?
At that point, I asked Alex if there was a way I could contact Lori and asked Alex for her cell phone number. And Alex
Good
told me
point,
that
USA.
I didn't have her cell phone number.
Were you aware at that point that Alex Cox and Lori Vallow were siblings?
Yes, through our investigation with Gilbert, we knew that Alex Cox and Lori Bell were extremely close. So when Alex told me he didn't have a sister cell phone
Bye,
number,
Vicky.
I assumed he was lying to me.
What did you do once you received that information?
Myself and Detective Hope left the defendant Daybell and Alex at the pickup truck. We went over to apartment 107 to see if we can make contact with Lori. At that point, we were just trying to find JJ Vallow.
And were you able to locate him at apartment 107?
No, we knocked on apartment 107, there was no answer. So at that point, Detective Hope began knocking on neighbors' doors. See if we can get a hold of anybody who would know if they saw a little boy coming in and out of that apartment or who resided at that apartment. And while Detective Hope was doing that, I started walking back to my vehicle to call for more detectives to come over to our location.
Why did you call for more detectives?
Because of the deception from Alex,
Because he knew they were crazy.
I wanted to figure out what exactly was going on.
He knew they were
And
liars.
we were going to start canvassing the area and knocking on doors, so the more detectives we had on scene, the better it was for us.
And Detective, to clarify, when you first saw Alex and Chad Daybell, did you speak with Chad Daybell?
No, I personally didn't.
So I believe you testified that you started walking back to the original.
Correct.
What happened then?
As I was approaching my car that was parked in the alleyway, I noticed the defendant Daybell driving towards me in a black Chevy Equinox. It appeared he had just left apartment 175 and was headed towards me in the alleyway. So at that point, I stopped him to have a conversation.
What did you ask him?
I asked the defendant Daybell, when's the last time you saw JJ Vallow? And he stated it was in October in apartment 107 with Lori Bell.
Did you ask him anything else?
I did. I asked him how he knew Lori, and he stated he had only met her a couple of times, and that he didn't know her very well.
Did that response cause any concern for you?
It did.
Why?
Through our investigation, prior to me making any contact with the defendant Daybell or Alex Cox, we knew that Chad and Lori had been married 2 weeks prior to my conversation.
See, they already know.
So is it fair to say you were troubled by his gentleman? What happened after that?
I asked Mr. Daybell, the defendant Daybell, if he had Lori Bellow's telephone number so I could get hold of her. And he stated he didn't have her phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any further conversation?
I did. When I was speaking with the defendant Daybell, Detective Hope saw me talking with him and started to walk back to my location. As he approached, I again asked the defendant Daybell for Lori's number because I assumed he was lying to me based on what I knew. And at that time, he did give me Lori's phone number.
Did he tell you why he didn't give it to you in the first place?
He did. He stated that he felt I was accusing him of something.
And had you accused him of anything?
Imagine
I
that.
simply asked him the whereabouts of JJ and asked him for his wife's telephone number.
Of course, he felt like you were getting accused. He's guilty.
Detective, during this interaction, were you wearing a body cam?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
In the detective division, most of our interviews are in a controlled environment. We call people into the police department. We have an interview room set up with cameras. So most of the time we're conducting our business and our interviews at the police department. It's very rare we're the first officers or detectives on scene. There is one body cam between 7 detectives.
Thank you,
Unlike
Mace.
patrol, where a patrolman is assigned a body cam, a detective is not assigned.
What happened after you got that information from the defendant?
I called my lieutenant at the time and told him what was going on. I felt that based on the deception and lies from the defendant, Daybell,
Thanks, Sky Talker.
who is JJ's stepfather, the lies and the deception from JJ's uncle, who is Alex Cox. I felt there was more going on with the whereabouts of JJ. And so at that time, I wanted to get everybody over there to see if we could figure out what was going on. So I asked my lieutenant to gather some detectives and respond to my work.
And then what happened?
A few minutes later, my lieutenant arrived with Detective Dave Stubbs, who had a body cam at that point. We began knocking on doors. We went back to 175, which was Lori Ballow's apartment. We started knocking on her door and didn't get any answer.
And I apologize if I missed it. Who was your lieutenant?
Ron Ball.
All right, so after you weren't able to get any answers, what did you do next?
Through our investigation, we learned that Lori Ballow's niece, Melanie Boudreau, it was Melanie Pulowski, no, correction, Melanie Boudreau at the time, it's now Melanie Pulowski.
Hold on
She lived
now.
in apartment 174, which is right next door to Lori. So at that point, we would knock on her apartment as well to see if Lori or JJ was at that apartment.
Did anybody answer?
No, they didn't.
What did you do next?
I was instructed to go back to the police department or the prosecutor's office to see if we can obtain a search warrant to search the residence for JJ Vallow, while the other detectives stayed on scene and started knocking on doors in that complex. At that point, our only focus was to find JJ and to figure out what was going on. So we were going to exhaust every means that we could to see if we could do that. And that's why I went to the prosecutor's office to see if I could obtain a search warrant.
And did you obtain a warrant that day?
No.
Why not?
On the way to the prosecutor's office, Detective Hope, with the number that the defendant Daybell provided, called that number. There was no answer, but he left a message.
Think
Once we got to the prosecutor's office, Lori Vallow called back, and she was instructed to open the door. There were detectives outside of her door that wanted to speak with her.
And are you aware of?
Hey, Heather.
Any detectives were able to make contact with her that day?
Yes, they did.
Do you know who that was?
Detective Stubbs and Detective Ball.
And you had mentioned earlier that Detective Stubbs had a body cam on, correct?
Correct.
And do you know if their interaction with Lori Vallow was recorded?
Yes, it was.
Have you watched that video?
Yes, I have.
At that point in your investigation.
Yay,
what did you
Shasta.
do?
Thank you.
After,
Hey, Lorna.
After Detectives Ball and Stubbs had spoken with Lori Vallow, what did you do? What did you do next?
we were informed that JJ was with a family friend.
Judge, I'm going to object if there's any comments.
See, this is where it gets shady. They already know this part.
Sustain that.
With the
Did
family friend.
you speak with Detectives Ball and Stubbs about their interaction with Lori that day?
Yes.
Did you speak with them that day?
Hey, Bethany.
Yes.
Did you watch the body cam of their interaction with Lori Vallow that day?
Yes, I did.
So you're aware of what she said to them?
Correct.
Based on what she said to them, what did you do next in your investigation?
We attempted to locate the family friend to see if JJ was with her in Gilbert, Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And do you know who that family friend was?
Melanie Gibb.
Were you able to contact them?
I was not.
Did you have any interaction with Arizona law enforcement day about contacting Melanie Gibb?
I did. It was starting to get into the later hours of that evening. So I contacted Detective Pillar with Gilbert Police Department. And I had him go to Melanie Gibbs' residence to see if JJ was there. Ultimately, we learned he was not there.
About what time did you learn that JJ was not with Melanie Gibbs?
Roughly 9 o'clock at night.
And what did you do when you found out that he was not there?
I contacted Lieutenant Ball and
Thank
let
you,
him know,
Jane.
and we agreed to meet at the prosecutor's office that next morning.
Emily
early
is the
to obtain
best.
search warrants for those apartments.
Okay, and just for clarity of the record, which apartments are you talking about?
Apartment
I'll say-
175, which belonged to Lori Vallow, 174, which belonged to Melanie Boudreaux, and apartment 107, because that's the last time JJ was seen based on the defendant Daybell's statements.
Detective, were you able to obtain those warrants?
Yes, we were.
What did you do? Well, what day did you obtain those warrants?
November 27th, 2019, in the early morning hours.
And on that day, did you execute those warrants?
We did.
Let's talk about that. Where did you search first?
We searched apartment 175 first.
Was there a reason you searched there first?
That was his address that we were given from Gilbert Police Department, and that's where his mother lived.
The mushroom
What did
lady
you
is
find in apartment 175?
Aaron Patterson.
So initially, when we broke down the door,
Australia
everything
crime.
looked ordinary. There were couches, there were papers on the table, there was food in the refrigerator, food in the pantry. We went upstairs, there were beds,
Oh,
pictures. Everything seemed that people lived there. The thing that caught our attention was there were no clothes on the hanger in any of the closets. Zero clothes.
you'll have to follow reporters
Just a
for
bunch of
it.
empty hangers hanging there like somebody
And then you have Jesse
took the
and
clothes off and
I forget what his
Yeah.
boyfriend's name was that were just killed
Did you locate
in
JJ
Australia
in that apartment?
by that cop.
no.
Did you see any evidence whatsoever to suggest that he had been living there?
Yes, we did. There were a couple things. We located a child's Star Wars suitcase
Luke, yeah.
underneath a little crawl space under the stairs. It was mixed in with some, what I can best describe as 72-hour kits, and the kits had like flashlights, flares, water.
Thank you,
The
Jay.
suitcase was mixed in with those.
Emily
We
is
also
amazing.
found
We love her.
an old prescription bottle prescribed to JJ of Risperidone. And then we're miscellaneous photographs of JJ in the residence.
And did you see any other evidence of any minor children?
No. Correct. We did. When we first went inside, there were some scooters and a small child's, looked like a small child's bike right on the porch.
Okay. Did you seize anything from the home that day?
We did, I seized.
This is so
the
true,
Risperidone
Krista. So true.
And the suitcase.
After you searched apartment 175, what did you do next?
We searched 174, which was Melanie Boudreaux's apartment. Everything appeared normal in there. There were no signs of JJ or anything that he was even there. We also searched apartment 107. and that was
Carol.
completely vacant. There was nothing in apartment 107.
Did you seize anything from apartments 174 or 107?
We seized.
Yay, Sandra.
In apartment 174, we seized some cash, large amounts of cash that were found in the closet. The only reason we seized those were for safekeeping, because we had kicked the door in there as well. And it wasn't able to lock, so we took that.
Did you locate any weapons in any of those apartments?
So in apartment 175, when we were searching the garage area, we located several different style weapons, handguns, rifles.
Oh, thanks, princess.
Various calibers, army knives, a lot of different weapons that were inside the garage.
And why did you seize those?
Again, for safekeeping, that apartment didn't lock. And so we took those so it wouldn't be stolen.
Did you find any evidence that J.J. Val had been in apartment 174?
No,
Did you find any evidence that J.J. Val had been in apartment 107? Did you search any other building that day?
we did. In apartment 175, we located a storage unit rental agreement contract. And on that storage unit contract
It is
was the
Krista.
name Lori Ryan. It had listed her as the tenant, and it listed the storage unit number
It
as
is.
C52. And it gave an
I agree.
address of self-storage on Airport Road in Rexburg. So with that information, we were able to obtain a search warrant for that storage unit as well.
And did you participate in the search of that storage unit?
Yes, I did.
What did you find there?
There were a few bikes, children's bikes. There were boxes of winter clothing, some ice skates. There wasn't a lot in the storage unit. There was a personalized, like a family blanket, a big blanket with family photos that were kind of sewn onto the blanket. Those photos had J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan.
This
and
part was so
their
sad.
children, Kobe Ryan. There were pictures of Lori Vallow. But other than that, there was nothing else really in the story.
When you performed these searches, were you looking for Tylee Ryan?
Shasta, I think they were just doing it to establish foundation of
So
who
to
he
your knowledge,
was,
she hadn't been in
the
courtroom.
adoption, that kind of stuff.
That's correct.
Your Honor, if I have a reach that button.
Yes.
Did he say, what did he say? Can I hit a reset button? Lord knows I feel like that too. Okay. I mean, my goodness, y'all. So heads up, the phone call I took a minute ago is the AC man. He's on his way. He's about 30 minutes away. So I don't know if I have to hang up when he gets here, but regardless, once they go to lunch, I'm going to stop streaming for the day. Because I got to get stuff done around here. We might, I want to do a live chat, a members live chat to go over the full video of the Apple River thing, because I can't make a video of it, but I'll put that out. I'll announce it when we do it. Maybe tonight it'll probably be kind of a last minute thing so you can watch on the replay if whatever. Because I'm dying.
Mr. Wood, I understand this would be a good breaking point in his testimony for the lunch hours, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take our lunch recess at this time. Before we do that, again, I will just advise the jurors, please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else over the break. In addition, for those in the courtroom, we will be closing the courtroom, I believe, during the lunch break. So things you have in here will need to go with you. We'll reopen upon the conclusion of the lunch break, and we'll still be under the court's governing order for courtroom conduct when we return. So thank you everyone for fine with that. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess now.
All rise.
Woo! Lord mercy. Ask and ye shall receive. Oh my God. I know, right, Stormy? Ask and ye shall receive. I mean, my goodness gracious. Hold on, how do we do this? Let's do that. Um, so yeah, we're off to, again, just, and I'm not trying to, I mean, justice is on the way and I'm very happy for that. Yes, this is kind of like okay, you know what I'm saying? Like a little bit of a, like, okay, it's just their voices. And this is information, if you've been following this, that we've heard before. So it's like kind of living through it again. And it is depressing, right? Bye, so yeah. So what we're going to do is this. So I might stream some tomorrow. I'm not sure. I have to take somebody to the airport in the morning. So when I get back from that, we'll see where we're at, and I might stream for a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to do a members chat. So whether you're a member here on Patreon or on the other channel, it's all the same thing. But in that, I want to go over the whole video on that Apple River thing. And again, I'm not sure what I would like to say tonight, maybe, but I need to see how the afternoon goes with the AC man and stuff. So it'll be kind of like a last minute thing. But what I'm going to do is you can watch it on the replay if you can't catch it. And then I'll make a normal video of it for the main channel, but it won't go as in depth. You know what I'm saying? Because if you've watched the video, then you know what I'm talking about. There's a huge chunk of it that you can't play on like just regular YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the chunk I want to talk about the most. So there's that. So, but yeah, so that's all. Thank God justice is on the way. So what did we learn? We're blaming it all, as we all predicted. We're blaming it all on Alex and Lori, and Tammy did it to herself because of the stuff she's put on her legs. Allegedly, right? We haven't gotten into the full thing, but you can see where Pryor is going with some of this stuff. Pryor gave a very lackluster opening. I was shocked. Again, it only makes common sense that they blame it on Alex and Lori, I guess. So there's that. So thank you everybody for, pardon me. Kelly, I have not seen that one yet. I'll look at it again. I might have missed that one. I'll look again. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for hanging out, talking. Thank you, Emily, for hanging out. Thank you for keeping everybody in line. And thank you for being an awesome community. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for new members, super chats, and everybody for being just overall cool. It's greatly appreciated. Just be on the lookout. Again, if you're new here, I'm streaming this when I can. So it's not like an all day, every day kind of a thing, that type thing. So just be on the lookout. Anyways, that's it. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. You take care. We will talk to you soon. Y'all have a wonderful day.